Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's Food Teachers Centre Spotlight. As you know, each week we have a different topic of interest for our food teachers out there. And I'm sure you've all heard of the Fish Hero programme, and I'm sure a lot of you have been lucky enough to get the mussels. So this week we are lucky enough to have Sarah Holmyard from Offshore Shellfish joining us to talk a little bit more about the company and what's behind the mussels. Before I go on and show you a little video, I'm just going to welcome Sarah. So welcome, Sarah.
Hi.
Hi. I'm just going to show you a little video here of the background, and then we'll go on and I'll let you have a little chat about offshore, everything offshore. Okay?
Sure, thanks.
I started growing mussels in Scotland in 1988, before George was born and Sarah was just a baby.
I've worked in seafood my whole working life. I never thought I would end up back working in the family company.
I'm going out in the Elysee today, putting out next year's mussels, so seeing 3 different years of mussels today.
My role really is to keep all the shoreside running. I don't have sea legs.
I mean, when we started mussel farming in Scotland, it was very much a lifestyle thing, but I could see there was still an enormous demand for producing good shellfish. It just made sense to develop farms offshore.
We're the only truly offshore mussel farm in the UK and the largest of its kind in Europe as well.
So we're taking these small ones off and we'll be putting them back on the ropes.
If there's too many, they're all competing for food. If there's too few, you don't end up with a good product at the end of it.
You know, we're farmers, this is experience, and there's very few textbooks which tell you how to grow anything, and there's certainly no textbooks which tell you how to grow mussels offshore.
What we want is the perfect mussels to harvest.
I think it's important to show that we can not only produce a lot of food from an area which otherwise wouldn't have been producing it, but we're also helping the areas surrounding us to produce more than it was before.
We've just seen some big splashes in the water out here, probably some bluefin tuna. They come in around about this time of year.
The mussel farm provides its own marine protected area as well.
There's so many different species on the ropes. There's life everywhere.
So that's a velvet crab there, and this is a brown crab.
This year we've got a really good looking crop, good sized, and the meat quality is fantastic.
And the aim of it always was to feed lots of people.
It's got to be the future, isn't it? Everybody goes on about dwindling fish stocks. We are getting protein from meat from the sea in massive sustainable quantities.
They require no fresh water, no land, no fertilisers, no pesticides, no chemicals, no feed. They're good for you when you eat them, and they're also good for the planet. There's a phrase used these days of regenerative farming, and that's what we're doing, we're regenerating.
The more people realise that and more people start to eat mussel, then the more that we can increase the benefits to everyone, really.
So that there's some for today and plenty for tomorrow.
And I think it's important that we'll have a certain amount of responsibility for what we do. I feel we're doing good, and I'm proud of it.
There we go. Thanks very much for that, Sarah. I'm going to actually put that little in the thread for everyone in case they want to show it to their students as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a good sort of intro videos to what we do, where we do it, and it gives you a little bit of an idea of the scale because it's hard to see in just a couple of little pictures.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I'm one of the schools that has been really lucky enough to get the mussels from you. And, you know, without doubt, fantastic quality mussels. And the students have really benefited from it. So thank you
really good to
for
hear.
that.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm going to hand over to you so you can tell us a little bit more about the background of the company and where our mussels come from.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. It's always good to. Oh, I'm very passionate about what we do, and as you can see, it's a family business. In that picture there, there's my dad, myself, and my brother. We all work on the boats at sea and also in the office together, along with my mum. So yeah, it's nice to be in a family business. We are based out in Lyme Bay, so we've got quite a unique offshore location. We're between 3 and 6 miles out to sea, so we're quite remote. We're very spread out. That's one of the main differences of our farm to others. We're also pioneers in the industry, so we've sort of developed a system of farming to be able to farm in far offshore waters, in large swells, withstand big storms. So yeah, we are sort of leading the way in terms of the development of new techniques and also in terms of sustainability. We're reliable employers, so lots of people work in the fishing industry, not that many in aquaculture, although it is increasing. But with our staff, we give them a salary, so they're paid all year, like most people would expect. But in the fishing industry, you're often paid a share of your catch. So if you don't catch anything, you don't get paid anything, whereas we have salaried employees, and that's good. People can also come home at night, which is nice when you're coming out of fishing, to be able to go to work and then come home again. We're environmental leaders. We've done a lot of work with the University of Plymouth, and I'll explain a bit more about that later on. And we're also expanding. So currently our production is around 3,000 tonnes a year, but we're still growing, and we hope to be able to grow up to around 12,000 tonnes over the next sort of 5 to 10 years. Next slide, please. Thanks. So we've won a number of awards and things for the work that we do. We also have third-party external certifications to show our sustainability credentials. So from the ASC, which is the Aquaculture Stewardship Council, they look into not only your sustainability of your produce, but also of your business and how you work in the community with your staff, how you treat your staff. So it covers quite a lot, which is good. And we decided to go into these programs just to, one, as a third-party certification to show that we're doing these things, but also to make sure that we are always up to and above industry standards and making sure that we are leading the way. We are organic, so we have Soil Association certification for organic. There aren't that many organic mussels out there, although there should, because they don't eat anything apart from what's in the sea, so it's all natural. So we've also won awards as the Best Aquaculture Company, Best Aquaculture Producer, Shellfish Farmer of the Year, product line and retail packaging for a number of the products that we produce over in Europe, which is always great. So why our mussels? We have unparalleled proven sustainability, which is shown through our third-party certifications, but also from extensive research over the last 11 years by the University of Plymouth to show the huge regenerative effects of mussel farming, and not just mussel farming, but offshore mussel farming, and the way in which we do it in a very low impact way. Our mussels have very large meats compared to the industry standards. So on a standard mussel you could buy in the supermarket or that you often get in a restaurant, they have around 20-24% meat yields, and ours are often up to around 40 to 45% meat. So you get a lot more meat in your shell, which is great. Clean shells. So this is linked to the fast growing. So because our mussels grow so quickly, they don't get a chance to be fouled with anything like tube worm or barnacles and things like that, which means it's a really great product to put into market because it's got a lovely, nice looking clean shell. And we are close to the market, although we don't supply that much into the UK, we do supply into Europe. And so it's good from that perspective. So I always describe mussel farming as regenerative aquaculture in its purest form, because that's what it is. There's only one input, and that's putting a rope into the water. The mussels are naturally seeded. So you see in this this middle picture here, and on the left, that is the mussel spat, the baby mussels, which we then strip off the lines when they're around that size, and then we put them onto other lines. So the only thing that we do is we spread them out a bit. We give them a home to grow, and we spread them out so that they can grow. They can all grow at a uniform size, to a uniform size in the same amount of time, so that we know what we can harvest and when we can harvest it, to plan for our production. And this is just a couple of clips from underneath our mussel farm. So you can see there's a huge number of other species that grow there along with the mussels. So on the left, you've got mullet, and on the right, you've got some sea bream. We also get a lot of sea bass, and we've got massive recordings of a huge number of other species. In that video you saw at the beginning, there were tuna jumping around the farm. And I've even seen a leatherback turtle on the farm, which was my best sighting. That was quite an interesting one to see. The ropes also act like create habitats and act like a nursery ground for a lot of juvenile species. I'm sure as food teachers you all know a lot more about the nutritional side of mussels than I do, but they are really a superfood. And as well as all the nutritional benefits, they also permanently remove carbon from the atmosphere through carbon sequestration. So most of their shell is made up of carbon. We don't use any land, and we don't use any fresh water. So there's no inputs into it other than a place to grow. And they really are great for their nutritional profile. They are high in protein, zinc, selenium, omega-3, amongst many others. So we say, they're a great brain food for kids to eat as well. And these are some of the other species that I've found when I've been out working on the farm. So you've got a spiny cockle, velvet crab, and goose barnacles. Goose barnacles are a real delicacy in Spain, but we don't tend to eat so many of them over here. But it's always interesting to see the different types of things which grow in and around the farm. Just a couple of pictures. The one on the right is actually from one of our product packs, which we make over in Europe. But just to show the lovely clean shells here, and why we do what we do and why we do it, how we do it, just to create a really superior product that's great quality and it's great to eat. Next one, please. So yeah, these are the packs which we do over in Europe, and I think from a teaching point of view, it's great to show kids that you can buy these things on the shelves, but also like you can create something new, isn't it? Like different packs, or do a design element. If you're going into food, you can do the design of packaging, or you can look at the sauces in the packaging and how the sauces are made and what different ingredients you can put together, because these are all a bit different from what we get in the UK, like some I'd never thought of, but quite European. And so it's nice to see the different flavor profiles from the different countries and things like that. A few other shots from our farm here. So on the top left, this is just looking out over one of the farm sites. You see, even when you're up close, that's in the middle of the farm. It's very low impact. There's, you can just see a few buoys poking out. And on that middle greeny one on the right there, that's like the water's sort of really thick green because it's so full of plankton when I took that picture. And that's why our mussels grow so quickly, because they've got so much feed moving through the farm all the time. Being out in the open ocean, they have access to a lot of nutrients. And the fact that each of our lines are spread out by 50 meters means that they've got a big space and a lot of food to eat. And this bottom one on the right here, that's one of the harvest lines up on the side of our harvest vessel, the Holly May. And that's literally how we harvest. It goes up this ramp into the machine, out the end where they're stripped off and popped into a big bag ready for going to market. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So what are we doing that's special and different from anyone else? So as I was saying, we are leading the way in sort of sustainable aquaculture development. We're a leader. People look to us to see how they should be doing things. And the fact that we've been working with scientists to constantly assess ecosystem services, biodiversity improvements, see ways in which we can make huge leaps forward to help the health of our oceans. Sustainability is really key to driving everything that we do. And we've also contributed to a lot of different projects. This actually shows you how our lines roughly are laid out, because people say, how is it secured? Why doesn't it move? So we've got these anchor points at the bottom of the picture. They are 6 meter long screw anchors. So they're screwed into the seabed. but there's nothing sitting disrupting the seabed. So putting them inside the seabed is actually a lot more environmentally friendly. There's no disruption there. And then we have one continuous long line under each of these long headlines, which is about 2,000 meters long, where the mussels grow. And then they're just harvested from there. And then you've got the big yellow marker buoys so that people can see where the farm is and hopefully not run into it.
That was going to be one of my questions. How do you stop boats going over the top of them? But is that because of the buoys?
When we find that out, we will let you know, because we still get them running into it. But no, they are marked on all of the Admiralty charts, and they're listed on Trinity House, and they have these special markers, which are the yellow ones, to show even at night with the flashing lights where they are, and they can see these black buoys, but they just sometimes choose not to. I think we have had some damage from fishing vessels, and I think they don't realize that they might be going around the edge of the last buoys, but then they've got these ropes that go out sideways, and they don't take that into account. So yeah, when we find out, we'll let you know. And there aren't many other offshore mussel farms, because it's not always very nice. And you can see here, these two pictures, it's quite rough, it's bumpy, and it can be a really tough environment. On a beautiful day, like in the picture behind my head, it's absolutely lovely. But when it's rough, it's really rough. And also we can't harvest when it's rough, because we would just destroy the farm, and we also wouldn't want to put any of our crew in any harm's way. And it's not just the weather that makes it a difficult thing. It's the distance out to sea, but it's also there's always difficulties with exporting paperwork. Brexit, that's a whole other side. We don't need to go into that now. Yeah, just a few pictures. One of our happy workers, our boats at sea. You can see here that they're both catamaran style boats, so they've got the twin hulls, and that for us is just stability. It helps us to be able to harvest the lines, because you've got a lot of weight on one side of the vessel and not the other, so it's just a real stable platform. And also we're able to have a very large area on the deck for putting our mussels that we've just harvested, basically. And yeah, that's it. So always lovely to talk to people about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and hopefully you've learned a bit more about mussel farming and why we do what we do. And I certainly love it.
That was good. You can tell that, though. You can tell, all the things, as you say, it's lovely on a lovely day, but it's hard work on a poor day, isn't it?
Yeah, the best place for me is always at sea. I love it, even on a bumpy day.
That's good. I just want to go back to what you talked about the quality of the mussels. And I know if there's other teachers out there who got the mussels, that was one of the most frequent comments we got from students and staff, to say how the quality of the mussels were excellent. So it was lovely to hear about how you do that. Obviously, we as food teachers all have to teach about sustainability, and I almost feel like this is everything you need to know. Because
mussel farming, it really does kind of tick every box in terms of sustainable food production. It's it uses no land, it uses no water, there's no input required, you don't have to feed them, and they actually clean the water. They are filter feeders, so they clean the water as they grow, and they absorb carbon. They also remove things from the water like nitrogen and phosphorus. So they really are the ultimate superfood in terms of eating and environment.
And I think, as you're right, I think, it helps us teach about nutrition, it helps teach about sustainability, it helps us teach about high skills, because we had the opportunity to show students how to check the mussels and check they were fresh, and check, to what to do with them, which really interested them. And then, of course, the array of different recipes. I mean, I know we personally did about 6 different recipes, but
I've been following all the recipes that you guys have been doing, and I do want to try some of them. They look lovely.
Creativity from our teachers out there was just amazing, and the students just loved it. And I think we forget the impact that has, because if we're realistic, Sarah, if you didn't give us this opportunity, and work in partnership with the Fish Heroes and the Food Teacher Centre, I would say there'd been a very tiny percentage of students would ever have prepared, cooked, or eaten mussels, But
Yeah, no, and I, even with adults, a lot of people that I speak to are like, "Oh, do you like mussels? Oh, well, I have them on holiday. Oh, I don't know what to do with them. I'm not sure if I could cook them myself." There's the uncertainty, but they're not that available in the UK. You can buy the cooked packs, not our ones, but you can buy the cooked packs in the supermarkets, which aren't always that great. And so people might have them once and be put off and like, oh yeah, they were okay, but I'd rather have my chicken or my meat, and do something that they're sure of or know how to cook. So it's really getting in there and showing them early how easy they are to cook and how tasty they can be and how versatile. You could put any flavor on them and they're really quite good. You could put no flavors on them and they're still good.
And the students
they're
are always
just
shocked
simple.
at how quick they cook. 4 minutes.
Yeah,
That's it,
exactly.
done.
So quick.
Brilliant. And I think the other thing that I need to remind the teachers out there is if they've signed up to the Fish Hero project, there is a whole host of resources, teaching resources, from yourself and from Simon and from the Fish Hero project in the Fish Hero Academy programme that they can go on and they can download and use directly with their students. Again, even the video that you showed earlier, I'll pop that in, as I said. But again, that's just one thing that's really good just to hook the students in.
Yeah, and there's also some other resources on our website. The whole sort of research program has just been finalized and put into a little video, and it's very sort of student friendly. It's called Ropes to Reefs, and it really, if they're looking from like a scientific side of things, then Ropes to Reef video, which I've just put on our website, is really quite good for them to watch, and it's a good level to be able to understand a bit more about the marine environment and sustainability.
Well, that's perfect, because what I'll do is I will put that on as well. I'll put your website onto this. And then can I just ask if there's any questions from anybody? If I ask that we just put it on the thread underneath tonight's spotlight. And then if there's something I can't answer or Simon can't answer, is it okay to get back in touch with you just to ask you?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm always happy to answer questions about mussels, mussel farming, sustainability, anything. Yeah, no problem.
You can tell you've got a passion for it. You can tell you've got it.
And I'm also happy to commit to providing many more tons of mussels to the Food Teachers Programme for the years to come. So
do you know
that more on their way.
So lovely to hear. And I know that Simon obviously works very hard with you to do that. On behalf of every one of our 9,500 teachers in the group, I do just want to say thank you, because I really, you probably don't realise the impact you have, but for us as food teachers, it's a massive impact. And for the students, we have had students that are doing GCSE and A-level saying, can I use mussels? Because I've used them before and I know how to use them now. Whereas before, they would never even have thought of doing that. So
that's really great to hear.
A huge thank you from us all.
No, you're welcome. And thanks for the work that you do. I think it's great to be able to teach children these really valuable skills so that they can actually cook when they go off to uni and things like that.
Absolutely. And know how to feed themselves well. Well, thanks very much for giving up your time tonight, Sarah. Again, I'll put everything on there, and if we've got any more questions, we'll be back in touch. But really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Good night.
Night.